So those are the things to avoid, the 4 leeches, the 7 deadly sins of speaking. Great to cut those out of your life if you can. What can we focus on in a positive way, though? What can we actually point towards in order to give us power in our speaking? Well, there are 4 foundations of power in speaking that I'd like to share with you. And if you stand on these 4 foundation stones, you will be received powerfully. Here they are. The first is honesty. The second, authenticity. The third, integrity. And the fourth, love. And together they form a word which is convenient because it's easy to remember that way, and the word is hail. One definition of which is to greet or acclaim enthusiastically. And I think that's how your speaking will be received if you stand on these 4 foundation stones. Let's consider each of them in turn and just unwrap what's inside of the words. Honesty. What does that mean in speaking? Well, simply it means being clear and being straight in what you say, saying what you mean and meaning what you say. Nothing too complicated about that, but easier said than done. Authenticity. That is about just being yourself, not pretending to be other than you actually are, not self-aggrandizement and not any sort of dissembling, just being true to yourself. A friend of mine once described it as standing in your own truth. It's a wonderful way to put it. The I is integrity. Integrity simply means doing what you say, being your word, effectively. So being somebody who can be trusted to do what they have said they will do. If I say I'm going to turn up, I turn up. And the L is love. Now, I don't mean, of course, romantic love. What I mean here is well-wishing, wishing people well. It's very important because, of course, unbridled honesty may not be quite what we want. Goodness me, you look ugly this morning. Perhaps isn't the kindest thing to say to somebody. It may be honest, but it's not necessary. Sometimes we temper the other things with love, and love is a kind of glue that holds the whole thing together. So with the 4, honesty, and also I should say about love, it's very difficult to judge somebody and wish them well at the same time. I find it impossible. I don't know, maybe some people can do those 2 things simultaneously. I can't. Loving, judging, they tend to be, it's one or the other. It's a one-way street there. So it's a very good practice to be in wishing people well. And I can tell you from long experience of public speaking and speaking to individuals that when you wish somebody well genuinely, your words land much more easily with them. If you're secretly judging them, it's much harder for them to listen to what you're saying. So, hail, honesty, authenticity, integrity, and love. Couple of other little techniques that may help you as well in powerful speaking. One is called the 3-second rule. Have you ever met that? It's a pretty difficult thing to put into practice. Actually, it's a practice which sounds so simple and yet it's counterintuitive for many people. That is simply waiting 3 seconds after the person has finished speaking before you speak. Now, there are a lot of news journalists who could do with this. I get quite frustrated now listening to interviews on the radio and television where interrupting people is the norm. If you're an interrupter, this is a fantastic practice because interrupting automatically says to somebody, what you just said is not so important. I've got much more important things to say, and I'm going to ride right over the top of you. The 3-second rule gives an appropriate silence. You could start with 1 second if this is really hard for you, but it gives an appropriate silence in which you can digest what was just said and then respond. It's a fantastic practice. And the other one, which is more of an attitude, is this fantastic phrase. Now, the Elizabethans used to describe conversation as decorated silence. Decorated silence. So let's think of our words as decorating the silence. We don't have to fill silence, but if we're going to speak, let's decorate it with something that's lovely and worthwhile listening to. So that is what you say. I said at the beginning, it is what you say and the way that you say it. There's the what you say bit, 4 leeches, 7 deadly sins to avoid, some stuff about vocabulary, and then 4 foundations of power, so you can come from a great place and what will come out will be worth listening to. It's also the way that you say it. And that's what we're going to have a look at now.